Hello and welcome to the BSB60420 Advanced Diploma of Leadership and Management. With me today, I have Iona McKinney. Iona, welcome.
Hi, James. Great to be here. It's a very
Excellent.
exciting course, the Advanced Diploma of Leadership and Management.
Absolutely. And look, what's I think really interesting, certainly about this particular course and what it delivers, is the demand that we're seeing. I think not just from employers, but current and prospective employees and students coming through at the moment, because these sort of skill sets, particularly I think in the leadership and management, are becoming so crucial in all different sectors and all sorts of facets of business. So let's jump right into it and have a look at the course outline and, of course, some of the key competencies that the course goes about delivering.
Yeah, the course is delivered over 12 months, and it really focuses on leadership and management and how we go about those leadership and those management roles in a number of different ways. So we look at strategic planning, we look at business planning, we also look at change management as well. And we know that there's a lot of changes happening out there in the world at the moment about how we undertake our roles in businesses, because the whole context of how we operate our businesses is changing. So we're working more and more with people in a remote way. We're looking at blended operations models. So we've got some staff on site, some staff off site. So that business planning component of the course and the innovation and continuous improvement management aspects of the course are really relevant to not just today, but into the future as the way we actually go about operating our businesses and looking at what we do on that day-to-day basis becomes even more and more important in a time of real change.
Now, the competencies that we've got up there in front of us are delivered throughout the course by way of 10 units, which, as you mentioned, is over a 12-month period. So just take us through some of those key units, perhaps some insight into what's included in them, and some of the reasoning behind their inclusions.
Okay, so all of the units are delivered 100% online. And students have access to a whole range of materials that we'll talk about in just a moment. But just to focus on the course itself, I mentioned before that this is a time of change, so we've actually structured this course in in a way that supports people working in leadership and management roles or moving into those roles or even wanting to work in those roles to actually be effective in their leadership and management roles. So we have units such as managed personal and professional development, which is all about our own personal and professional development, but also working with our teams to learn more about our teams and actually having that professional development process in place. From an operations perspective, we look at organizational digital strategies and how to actually manage and maintain a digital strategy for an organization, especially in a changing world where we've got so much more technology that we incorporate into our roles. We look at social responsibility, strategic planning, and strategic planning, especially in terms of change, is very, very important, but also reimagining organizations and how we can actually change across the lifestyle of an organization and how that change impacts it. So again, we look at providing leadership across an organization. We look at managing innovation and continuous improvement, which is very topical at the moment, but we also look at building our own problem solving skills as well. These are skills that and things that we need to be able to do in the changing world of work. And so the course has been structured across the 10 units of study to actually provide an opportunity for students to be able to lead and manage organisational change, but also to take that change and translate it, if you like, into or transpose it into our business planning.
I think one thing, sort of coming out of what you've just said, and it's probably really pertinent for those who are tuning in to be mindful of, is, I think even from the critical thinking side to a few things that you just mentioned there, about it becoming the responsibility of the leader or the manager to conceptualize and come up with new ideas and creative solutions to problems. And being sort of an advanced diploma level qualification, there's that freedom to really kind of explore that side a little bit more, and then, you know, develop concepts and complex ideas and identify the problems, and then essentially work out how these solutions, which you come up with very much within a creative kind of framework, can be applied. And it's very much the essence of the sort of leadership and management that we're seeing in a very fast moving, you know, business environment, that applies to all sectors, really. You know, when you take into the rate of change in markets, the impact of technology, the impact even of human capital and employee expectations these days. I mean, it's a constantly changing and evolving environment, and that ability to, you know, think creatively and critically, and then subsequently identify solutions to business problems is, you know, an outcome that is becoming more and more in demand and more applicable, particularly in today's environment. Now, we did make mention that it is an advanced diploma level qualification. So let's talk about some of the entry requirements, so that students, of course, can gain entry.
Okay, so the entry requirements for the Advanced Diploma of Business are that to be eligible for entry, you need to have completed a diploma or advanced diploma course from what's referred to here on the screen as the BSB training package. So some examples of that might be the Diploma of Leadership and Management, a Diploma of Business, or a Diploma of Business Administration, or any one of the other diplomas. So if you've completed any type of diploma that starts with BSB, please have a chat to the education advisor about the entry requirement, because you are eligible to enter the course. The alternative entry requirement for this course is that you must have 2 years full-time relevant workplace experience in an operational leadership role. But having said that, you need to provide evidence to satisfy that. So you need to be able to provide evidence that you've worked in that role. So, for example, a letter from your employer verifying that you have those 2 years relevant workplace experience is an ideal example of how to actually evidence that. Any one of those courses provide a opportunity for entry into the Advanced Diploma of Leadership and Management, and there is a further study pathway that's available into the Graduate Diploma of Strategic Leadership, which again explores at an even higher level and an even broader level change management, different types of management styles, and a whole range of other things as well. So we'd encourage students to have a chat to their education advisor, and keep in mind that there are there is a pathway, but also there are different alternatives to be able to enter into the course.
Excellent. And then perhaps also an application for those who may have done, say, a university degree a number of years ago, and they'd like to specialise, perhaps, you know, and develop, you know, specific skills in the leadership and management function. So let's say, for example, you know, 10, 20 years ago, you perhaps did a Bachelor of Accounting or Bachelor of Business. That again would also meet the entry requirements for this advanced diploma.
It certainly does, because it falls under the alternative entry requirements. Really the key with alternative entry to the course is to be able to prove the 2 years relevant experience.
Okay, great. Now, just a bit of insight into the sort of applications. Now, what we've got up here is a list of industry sectors, and it's certainly by no means exhaustive, but just an example of some of the industry sectors where we could see competencies in this particular area applying. And again, occupations there as well. So anything from area managers to business analysts, senior executives, business development managers, managing directive, chief executive officers, and of course the business manager. Now, there were so many different roles to pick from, and look, what we sort of looked at doing was identifying, say, just one role out of the many where one might find sort of, you know, these competencies applied, and that, of course, was the business manager role. Now, this is from SEEK in 2021, where we can see an average salary of 110,000, which of course is a very good salary. But I think the most interesting thing to take out of it is when you look at the 5-year job growth projection of 6.1%, and that's, I think, a real metric that identifies the sort of demand that's currently in place for individuals with competencies in these kind of areas, but also in the future. And what's even more is if you cast your mind back even 6 months, it's around about May, we saw the average salary for this exactly the same role at around about 103,000, which again is beginning to increase as well. So certainly demonstrates that there's a demand for individuals with competencies, knowledge and skills in the areas of business and leadership in the labour market at the moment. Now, we've looked at the units themselves. How are they brought to life by way of the learning materials?
So students have access to a broad range of learning materials in this course. So there are textbooks available for some units. Students will also undertake self-directed learning activities. There's video that's available in some of the units of the course, as well as podcasts and audio lectures as well. Students also have the opportunity to access a simulated business to be able to complete the course if they don't have access to a workplace. So the course is really geared for students who either have their own workplace, or if they don't have a workplace, that simulated business is made available for students to experience a workplace. There's PowerPoint presentations, there's also learner guides and a number of other additional readings and templates that are made available for students. So the learning materials are quite comprehensive and they're very much specific to each unit of study. So, for example, with the business plan unit that students will study, they're actually provided with a full textbook for developing a business plan, but also the business plan template. So students are able to experience undertaking these things as they would in the workplace, and all of their learning materials are provided for them throughout the course.
Now, the assessment function is very much an extension of the learning material itself. We've got a number of assessment functions that students may be exposed to throughout the course. Now, they don't apply to each and every single unit, and it might be that you get exposure to perhaps 2 or 3 of these. Talk to us a little bit more about the assessment function, Aya.
So here at Mentor Education, we believe that assessment is really just an extension of what students have been undertaking during the unit, and it's an opportunity for students to bring all of their learning together and complete some real tasks. So assessments are often made up of short answer questions and, say, writing a case study or responding to a case study in scenarios. There may be projects that students undertake. So the business planning unit, for example, is a perfect example of a project where the student actually takes a business plan template that's provided and creates a business plan. And then as a result of changes in environment for the business in the case study, they're required to revise that business plan as well. So that is just one example of a project task. There may be long answer questions and multiple choice questions, plus a research task or an analysis task that students do. Students may also be asked to create presentations as part of their assessment tasks. But having said all these things, which sounds like there's so much in assessments, commonly an assessment is made up of 2 or 3 of these different types of assessment tasks in each unit, rather than all of these in one unit. So assessment, as I said, as students have moved through the course and they've undertaken the self-directed learning activities, often students have experienced an aspect of of their assessment, and then they're able to go on and complete their assessment task.
Excellent. Now, learning materials and assessments all are made available through the online learning management system, which forms part of the online learning experience. So what I thought I'd do is just briefly talk about what that might look like. So as I just said, to access anything and everything to do with the course, it's made available through the online learning management system, which again, you can access 24 hours a day. So how do I get access to it and what are some of the key requirements? Well, the first thing you're going to need access to is a strong and reliable internet connection. The second thing is access to a laptop or desktop computer. And then finally on that laptop or desktop computer, a browser. And then through the browser, you've got to log in via the student portal and access all your learning materials and assessments and anything and everything that you need in order to complete the course. Now, one of the great advantages of having the course online is that you can access it essentially 24 hours a day. So the online learning experience really lends itself to the idea of flexibility. And being that it is a self-paced course, what that means is that you're able to fit it in with anything and everything else that you've got going on in life. And that could very well be working full-time, part-time, looking after a family full-time, all of the above, and squeezing in that study whenever and however you can. In addition to that, being that the learning materials are made available through a browser function, if you have a smart device such as a smartphone or a tablet, you could also access some of the learning materials using that particular device, perhaps do some reading in bed, or it might be that you access some readings in transit using your smartphone or whatever it may be. So there's a whole range of benefits that come with being able to access anything and everything you need to do your course online. But really, in simple terms, a strong and reasonable internet connection, access to a laptop and desktop computer, and of course, a browser. Now, as we made mention earlier on, the course is delivered over a 12-month period, and throughout the entire life cycle, really from considering the course to completing the course, students are exposed to a whole array of support functions. Now, of course, the first support function you get access to is the education advice team, and it's their role to speak with you or email with you or converse with you, whatever way suits, and talk about what it is that you're currently doing, perhaps where it is that you'd like to go, and then use that information to work out what's going to be the most appropriate course or education solution to meet those goals. And in this very case, it may be the Advanced Diploma of Leadership and Management. Of course, once enrolled, you're then supported by a team of student support officers who can help you with just about anything and everything. And that goes from onboarding and tutorials and taking you through the learning management system to setting up appointments with the education advice team, all those kind of functions. And then arguably probably the most important support function that you have exposure to and access to throughout your educational life cycle is the education team themselves. Now, I'll hand on over you to talk to about some of the education support functions that are made available to students.
Thanks, James. Throughout students' study journey, if you like, we understand that students do need support at different times of their study journey. So students are able to actually call in on the 1300 number that's here on the screen and ask to speak to an educator for their course between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. But they're also able to, of course, contact us via service@mentor.edu.au with written requests for clarification or support, or to even make a booking with an educator or trainer from their course. So students are able to book a one-on-one appointment at any time that they actually attend with the educator or trainer for their course or that particular unit that they're studying, to support them with additional questions, with examples. Maybe a student is also experiencing some kind of happening in life and they're wanting some additional time or an additional type of assessment, so they're able to complete the assessment, which is what we refer to as reasonable adjustment. So we encourage our students to, we really do encourage our students to shout out, to talk to us, to share their study journey and share any challenges that they're having as well. We make that support available because we understand that students take this journey because it really does mean a lot to them, and so it does mean a lot to us as well. There's some other supports that we make available here at Mentor Education because we do understand life happens. And life happens for every one of us. So as much as possible, we support our students through not just the direct contact with educators, not just the student support team, but also some other additional aspects of student support. So students are able to request course extensions, resubmissions and remarking, and those additional one-on-one support sessions are all provided with for no additional charge. Again, we really do encourage our students to reach out to us so we can tailor the support that a student requires to their needs.
Amazing. Now, I've put together a series of questions that we often get asked by students when considering enrolling in a course. And the first one is, can I get government funding? Now, the short answer to that is no. All of our courses are self-funded, more often than not by students or sometimes their employers. But that said, there are payment plans and options available. So if paying the enrolment fee upfront is not something that you are perhaps able to do or prepared to do, speak with the education advice team and explore what payment plans and options are available for you there. You can start at just about any time. So what we say is if you can get enrolment into us, we'll have you up and running within a 24-hour period, which again lends itself to that idea and the benefits of flexibility, which we talked about earlier on. Everything's included. So that includes your learning materials, so any virtual textbooks or whatever it is that you may need, your assessments. And as I made mention earlier on, even resubmission. So in the event perhaps that an assessment doesn't quite tick all the boxes the first time, you're more than welcome to resubmit it, update it, and there's no additional charges or anything like that. The course is nationally recognised in all states and territories around Australia. There are prerequisites, which we talked about earlier on. And of course, if you've got any questions about that kind of thing, speak with the education advice team there to assist you with that. And how long do people usually take to finish? Well, the time frame that you want to have in your mind is 12 months. Now, it might be that you can dedicate a little bit more time each and every week and you may finish it a little bit sooner, but there may be occasions perhaps where things happen in life and you need to suspend your course for a couple of weeks or a month or whatever it may be, and it may take a little bit longer. So the time frame that you really want to work towards, again, as I said earlier on, is 12 months. Now, a bit of background on us. We've been delivering online education in the financial services, business, accounting, project management and information technology space since 2003. Throughout that period of time, we've had over 20,000 graduates and really evolved to develop a focus on online education and perhaps most importantly, what comes out of that by way of student outcomes. And we've got some information about our student outcomes from the NCBER, which were reported as of last year. And I'll hand on over you to talk to us about what they mean.
Thanks, James. So each year, the National Centre for Vocational Education and Research undertakes a survey of students in Australia. And what we can see here on the screen is what mentor education students say about us. Rather than us just telling you about the course, we thought we'd share this today because this is what our students say about us. So 92% of our graduates achieve employment or go on to enrol in further study after they've completed their training with us. 91.6% of our students are satisfied with the overall quality of their training. 90.2%, of students are satisfied with their assessment, and 86.5% of our students would recommend us as a training provider. What our students say about us really exemplifies our commitment to our students and of course that relationship that our students have with us within our mentor education learning community, but also it exemplifies that we're able to meet our students' requirements as far as their studies concerned, and really respond to students' questions and support them to achieve their education and training aspirations, which of course helps our students to achieve their career goals.
Now, finally, if you'd like more information on what we talked about today, you could access a course guide and course brochure, and that's made available on the website. So head on over to mentor.edu.au and visit the BSB60420 Advanced Diploma of Leadership and Management course page. And as I said, you'll be able to download the course guide there and get access to all the information that we talked about today, plus more. Otherwise, just contact the education advice team directly via email. So you could ask them a question directly or just simply request a course guide, and that's courseconsultant@mentor.edu.au, or give us a call on 1300 306 146. Now, The Education Advice team is based here in Melbourne. They're available 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time. Otherwise, if none of those options work, you're also welcome to jump on the website. We've also got a live instant messaging chat function. Again, that's looked after by the Education Advice team between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday, Melbourne and Sydney time. And for those who've got your smart phones out, scan that QR code and that'll take you directly on over to the Advanced Diploma of Leadership and Management course page. Iona, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, James. It's been great talking about this exciting course. It's so relevant in our current circumstances out there in the wider business world.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really, really good point to make there, certainly with respect to the relevance and the competencies and skill sets. And it is a course that I get excited about talking about. But nonetheless, we're at the end of today's session. So thank you very much to everybody who's tuned in. As always, take an opportunity to excite your potential. We look forward to seeing you as students very soon. See you later, everybody.